Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. In the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. Way too raw, who NXT? Handing out smackdowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space. Now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
Wow.
We could probably get in a lot of trouble for this, but you know what? The crowd
It's
was
fine.
amazing. Everybody, welcome to another edition of the War Report podcast.
Yeah.
TagMeADate.com. Of course, that was Bad Bunny's entrance at Backlash, and we are going to cover our reactions to Backlash as well as Monday Night Raw's Fallout. So welcome everybody to the show. Eric, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going.
Hey, yo,
Chris,
how are you
doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty well, man. A lot of stuff happening. Just ready to go, I guess, man.
All right, so we're gonna get started, but before we do, what's good, Facebook user? Let us know who you are because it just says Facebook user, followed up by I'm ready to take you on later in WWE 2K, Stephen Glenwick. So somebody's looking for an ass whooping and challenging me live on my own fucking show. So whoever that is, let me know because we can most certainly make that happen this evening and I'll whoop some ass.
Ha ha!
But
there it is.
But
that's what I like to hear.
While we're
that's
waiting
the confidence
for,
I like to hear.
You know what I mean? Now, while we're waiting for whoever the fuck that is to reveal themselves.
Enrique. Who's Enrique?
Enrique. I had a feeling it was Enrique. What's up, brother?
Enrique's a troublemaker. Okay.
Enrique is one of my closest friends at work. He is a wrestling fan. He is the most humble, most loyal kid you'll meet. I love the kid. And he bought the game. And he has challenged me numerous times where we have played online. And I have to tell you, he takes his ass whoopings like a man. He's beaten me one time. And I still say that was a fluke out of about maybe, I don't know, 10 or 12 matches, usually Hell in the Cell matches. He likes it when I launch his ass off the top of the cell and put him through the cell and all that good stuff.
He likes it. That's funny.
He does. He enjoys it. And he's going to get another one tonight. He's been itching to use Shawn Michaels against me. So I said, no problem. You be Shawn Michaels. I'll be Razor Ramon.
Ooh,
and let's take it back to WrestleMania 10 action.
Are you going to do a ladder match?
It's probably going to be a Hell in the Cell, knowing him. But I am more than happy to take it to a legit WrestleMania 10 and make it a ladder match. Hey, guys, sorry I'm a little late. I'm going to assume it's Tara. Welcome.
Yeah, I assume so. What's up, Tara?
But, all right, so enough of that. We have some important things to get into. And I got to tell you, I have a rant coming.
Oh.
But it is not about WWE Backlash, which I think is what we should start with, because I got to tell you, I went into it saying that I thought it was going to be a great pay-per-view because on paper, the matches were okay. One of them may be questionable. And then, in my opinion, and listen, it's Tara. Hi, Tara. One of my biggest things is that crowd, and I knew the crowd was going to be amazing because it's been 18 plus years since they've been in Puerto Rico. But having SmackDown live in Puerto Rico, what the fuck is that?
Is Eric making cereal or something?
Sorry, ice.
What the hell was that? So you had. Now I lost my train of thought. Fuck.
Puerto Rico, the matches. There was one that was questionable.
Puerto Rico. Yeah. So to have SmackDown there live, first time ever,
right?
And then to have this pay-per-view like 18 years later. that crowd was, it gave me Chicago type feels.
Wow.
It gave me,
That's high praise.
it gave me Brooklyn feels. It gave me Philly feels. Like
Wow.
all those places where
That's
you're
very
like,
complimentary, Steve. That's up there with some of the best crowds of all time, man.
listen, I'm going there. I'm going there, and I think for me, it is deserved. The crowd made that show. And
the crowd was the MVP.
And the matches delivered. And I'm talking every single one, and dare I even fucking say, I didn't hate Omos Rollins. There were some cool spots. Omos is getting better. That doesn't say much, don't get me wrong, but he's moving a little bit better. He looks more confident. You know, and listen, again, that's not to say he's like a fucking top tier guy in my eyes or anything, but he is making progress. And I think a lot of that you have to give to Seth Rollins, because that guy can make anybody look great. But I think every match was great. I want to get everyone's overall opinion, and then we'll break it down. Eric, you jumped on the camera, so why don't you go?
He's ready. He looks like he's ready.
If I can sum up this show in a phrase, it would be, they need to do more shows in Puerto Rico. All right?
Yeah, but see, that's what makes it less special. If they did 80 shows a year in Puerto Rico, it wouldn't be as exciting.
Mean like all the time. I'm just saying.
But it doesn't, maybe once a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be another fucking 5, 10, 15, 18 years.
Well, that's the ridiculous thing.
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
the thing.
It's essentially the 51st state. Yeah.
Why are they so hesitant to do more shows there is my question. Like, why did it take us this long to get there in the first place?
Has to be money. That's the only thing I can think of.
How long was it?
18 years.
Oh my,
18.
that's beyond
and
ridiculous.
SmackDown has never been there. So
but the last one was what, New Year's Revolution, where Edge cashed in. Was that Puerto Rico? Was that the pay-per-view?
I don't even know. But all right. Well, that is strong words coming from Eric.
And that's
Vince,
what I'm saying, you know, like it's like you already covered this, but the fucking crowd. The crowd sometimes can make the entire show. And that's not to say that the wrestlers didn't deliver, because they certainly did. Even the Omos match, which
are we agreeing on multiple things already? This is
yeah,
gonna be
well,
an interesting
you know
show.
what? I figured that this was going to be a show that we all can agree on a lot of stuff.
I agree.
You know what's not to, based on the quality of what we saw, and if I could pinpoint one thing about that specific Seth versus Omos, that finish, the stomp off the top rope.
But
Great
even what
finish.
led to that spot.
Oh,
Rollins
yeah,
going for the stomp, and for the first time ever, the size of his fucking neck, and he couldn't get him to move. And then he reversed it on him. Like,
it reminds me,
I mean, you know,
look at all that beef
of that, you know, how
shit.
The first Undertaker Kane match at WrestleMania, when it took 3 tombstones to get the job done. You know,
but that's also a great way to not make the other person look weak. Like, holy shit, it took 3 of them.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Omos
there's
still
psychology
came out
in
looking
there
strong as hell. And
he did. Like, it doesn't matter that he lost, and that's hard to say when you're talking about Omos. But
yeah, and I'm going to get to another person where it doesn't matter that they lost, because it was, and I'm talking Zelina Vega.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that. We'll break it down the whole
way.
Vince, what's your overall? What did you?
Oh, let Eric go. Yeah,
I'm just saying, overall, great show, great crowd, and I think it's one of the best WWE pay-per-view shows we've seen this year.
I can't disagree.
I think the crowd.
It was better than night 2 of WrestleMania.
It was. Night 2 of WrestleMania was not exactly, up there in terms of quality. But the Puerto Rican crowd really made the show. There were a couple matches that if they weren't in Puerto Rico, obviously the match wouldn't make sense and it wouldn't have as much of an impact. But I also think that, like, some of the other matches that were kind of mid anyway, like Rollins, almost, they were excited to see it, because it was wrestling. You know what I mean? They haven't seen WWE. So they're excited to see all the big name superstars. They're excited to see Seth Rollins and chant this song, because to them, it's their one chance in 18 years. And hopefully not that much distance happens or that much time happens again. but they're gonna cheer. So like some of the stuff was like that one that they cheered. It's what they were gonna do because they were excited to see WWE. Zelina, we'll get into it. Either honestly, it should have gone one of two ways for me. Either she rolls up Rhea and wins and then loses it back real quickly, or the third. There are three options, I guess. The quick roll up and Rhea loses it to Zelina for the big moment, but then wins it back on like SmackDown or something. The other option could be to make it maybe a little bit of a longer match and make her look a little more credible as a challenger. Or third, just don't have the fucking match because honestly, I was disappointed. Like Zelina was probably very happy to be performing in Puerto Rico, and all the Puerto Rican people were very happy to see her. But it was like a glorified squash match. It was she was not presented as a credible threat to this title. So I think that kind of took.
I want to jump in on that for a minute. Because first of all, to go back for a minute, if they went with scenario one, then we'd be listening to Eric tonight talking about why the fuck would they have her win it and then drop it, and then I mean, right? So I think it was the smarter move to keep Rhea on it. I do think the match was necessary because it gave Zelina an opportunity to wrestle in front of her crowd and in front of her family. I never really expected Zelina to win. No. And the other part of that too is where they didn't make her look as credible of an opponent. The reality is she was never that credible of an opponent from a size standpoint. When you look at her and you look at Rhea, there's no way Zelina should get that much offense on Rhea. Not that Rhea needed to look dominant because she is dominant.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Yeah, it was just I felt like it was a weird, like I said, semi-squash, kind of like she's so much bigger than her. Of course she's going to win, but it was like, I don't know. I just didn't.
She got some good spots in there.
I was happy. Listen, I'm not knocking. I'm happy for her.
And she dedicated the match to the 9/11 victim, her families that died in 9/11, and it's just like, and she gets squashed.
Of course, yeah, that's
and it's just one of those like, why are you dedicating a match to your dead family and you're going to lose family?
Yeah, I think it was just dedicating the fact that she's there performing in front of her home.
But even like the crowd elevated the main event because to me, like, and we'll get into this, I thought that main event was nothing really. It was barely a match, and it ended with they gave Cody so many outs, or Brock Lesnar so many outs and so many excuses that it was like Cody beating him that way doesn't, to me at least, and I'm kind of an outlier here, watching that match go down in the way what Cody had to go through to beat Brock Lesnar, and none of it had to do with wrestling a match. It all had to do with throwing stairs and busting open on turnbuckles and shit. It had nothing to do with the wrestling. Cody didn't seem credible by the end of that. He seemed like he fluked by because he jumped the guy before the match, and then the guy slipped on a banana peel. So like, I feel like that match, maybe in the US, not again, in the continental states, that match might have gotten a different response.
See, but I think they also went that direction because they wanted to lead it into match 2 at SummerSlam.
Yes,
which is what they set up, last night on Raw. So I kind of see why they went that route. I don't know. I enjoyed the match. I mean, I thought it was what it was.
It doesn't instill me any confidence that, like, when you look at that, you go, so if the next match is a 3 referees rules and strictly forced match, does Cody win because he had to go break out the steps and the turnbuckle and the this and the that and like everything short of a hand cannon?
It's going to be a fight, so I mean it's going to be the same type of thing. It's going to be a bunch of weapons and everything else. But we'll see how it goes.
But overall, listen, I think overall the crowd, it was a fine show that the crowd elevated to a good to great show, and it's going to be memorable because there were some different. The thing with Bad Bunny, first of all, should have probably been the main event. Just putting it out there.
Definitely.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be.
I thought it was I think everybody thought it was good because they hyped it up as a main event, but it's one of those double main events where it happens in the middle of the show. But anyway, I think that the moment with Bad Bunny and the cameos that we'll get into, we won't spoil it now, but we will spoil it soon. The cameos that were in there and the people that were involved, that ended up being such a huge moment for Puerto Rico, for like Hispanics in general. You know what I mean? That was such a cool cultural thing.
Right.
That you can't define. you look at the match and you go, okay, this isn't George Hackenschmidt versus Carl Gotch. You know what I mean? And it never was meant to be. But Bad Bunny goes out there and
unbelievable,
gives it his all every single time. He didn't half-ass it. It's a little bit different than a straight up wrestling match because there's all the gimmicky things. So some of that that takes away from the quote unquote quality of a match in terms of ring stuff. But that was a gaga, that was a different purpose. That whole match was that was for the Puerto Rican crowd.
Do you know what Mark Henry said officially today?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
What's that?
That Bad Bunny is officially the greatest celebrity brought into the wrestling business ever in history.
Wow.
He said they threw him right into the ocean and he swam for 25 minutes and he took an ass whooping.
He did.
But he also gave one. And on top of that, you had the return of Carlito, Savio Vega.
That was great. Yeah. My God.
Fucking amazing. That match stole the entire show.
Right.
I mean, from the moment Bad Bunny's music hit and they all started singing with him and he went and got the shopping cart full of weapons, which he used every single weapon in there and then some. Bad Bunny went through a couple of tables. Like, it was just so well done. I mean, it was, that match couldn't have gone any better, in my opinion. Every moment of that match hit.
What got me about that spot with before the match started, when he grabbed the shopping cart full of weapons, it think about it. Puerto Rico, Carlos Colon had brutal, hardcore matches with Abdullah the Butcher there. It reminded me of that kind of,
Oh, definitely. And they brought that up during commentary that Puerto Rico, that's the type of match they're used to is the more hardcore stuff. And honestly, the more standard stuff is a little more rare, I guess. Which is I think is great that they knew enough to about wrestling in Puerto Rico, especially because during the 70s and 80s, the WWF and the WWF were a big part of that because them and Carlos Colon and all, and the connection with the Colon family. Since the WWF or WWE left Puerto Rico, it's been the WWC, the World Wrestling Council, that's run by the Colons, that's kind of taken over wrestling on the island there. And it's just it was a nice little acknowledgement of the history of Puerto Rican wrestling. And then to bring out Carlito, which in my mind, I was like, oh, it would be cool if they brought out Carlito, but knowing just kind of knowing the history and knowing that they, he came back for a Rumble like during the pandemic, I guess, but it wasn't. Yeah. I always figured they didn't exactly have the best split up because there was never, you'd think in the last 15, 20 years of all the guys you'd bring back who had a good look and a good gimmick and could wrestle and all that, you'd want to bring back Carlito. So there had to be a reason they didn't want to work with him.
It
was
probably
nice to
money.
see.
It probably came down to money.
It's always money.
But
especially Carlito's looking so good, like physically.
Well, and apparently he impressed a lot of people. So hopefully he's a part of the LWO. I mean, it makes sense. Right. But that match really was just unbelievable, man. And again, it was a lot the crowd. The crowd was just so about that match. It was great. There is one thing though with this crowd that I did want to ask everybody.
Yeah.
Why did Bianca get booed out of the building?
I thought that was very interesting too.
That reminded me of a Toronto crowd.
I was gonna say that's like a Montreal, that's a Canada thing where they boo the the backstage stuff of, oh well, she's good, but we're sick of this title reign, or there's no whatever. Like I feel like it's a temperature check on Bianca's title reign because we've all agreed that she's doing great, but also like, what are we doing? Like, it's not.
What's her direction?
Right. Yeah. Where do we go from here? She's won at 2 consecutive WrestleManias. She's the best. She's the EST. She's never going to lose. She's like Roman Reigns. All right. Can we now show a different side of her or have some adversity or have a challenger that's credible or somebody that,
Well, they switched their brands now, so maybe
they switched the braids. What was
the brands? She's
on
SmackDown now.
Oh, I thought you said they switched her
She's
braids.
she's now Raisin Brand.
No, I meant like her
hair. That was horrible.
So now she's on SmackDown, so that opens it up for some new challenges. Although, and we'll get into. I don't want to open up this can of worms yet, so let's keep it moving.
Put that comment up. Is that from Tara? That's spicy. Did you see? Yeah. Wow.
Somebody's hating.
Bianca's an overgrown 12-year-old. Now, see, this is the kind
coming
of
in hot.
I would if we didn't ask this question out loud on a podcast, I wouldn't have known that there were people out there that thought that. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're right. Because guess what? There was a whole stadium full of people in Puerto Rico that agreed with you. And whatever it was, her title reign's too long. They wanted to see a title. It could be one of those things where they realized out of all the matches on the card, the one that was most likely to have a title change was that one. There were no other matches. Like, they wanted Zelina to win, but everybody knew Zelina wasn't going to win. There was nothing really at stake where it felt at risk except for Bianca's title, because she's held it for so long. It's the first show in Puerto Rico in 18 years. I think people, you kind of put it in your mind, you're like, this is the one. If it's going to happen tonight, this might be the one. And maybe they were just ready for it.
And I was hoping that it was some kind of acknowledgement that the crowd really is behind Io and how good she is.
Because she
is great.
And I've only seen her live maybe once at an NXT show. And, my mom goes to a lot of wrestling shows and watches a lot of wrestling.
I love your mom.
It was NXT 25 in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole for the NXT title was the main event. But Io Sky wrestled Candice LeRae. And Io did a moonsault holding a chair. And it was just so clean. She's like, that's the best moonsault I've ever seen in my life. She's like, this girl she's phenomenal. She's one of the best female wrestlers.
I'm just saying.
And that's somebody who watches a lot of wrestling, but also is not like, when you think of somebody who watches a lot of wrestling, you think of a guy in his 30s or 40s that watches a lot of wrestling, and they're like, oh yeah, I like that little Asian girl. This is like a legit, like, this is like a grown woman. You know what I mean? Like she's kind of an outlier of wrestling fans, and she's like, yeah, she's really good. And for her to pick that up, it's like other people are picking that up.
That says a lot about the talent of a performer too.
And she didn't go out and cut a promo. You know what I mean? She didn't during that show that we were at. The only thing you got was the video package before the match, and then you had the match. And if you've never seen Io Sky before, you kind of had to just go on what you knew from seeing them live. And she was able to, transcending language and everything else, language barriers, whatever it may be, put on a hell of a match. And, it made a new fan that night, that's what you're looking to do. You're hoping to make thousands of new fans in one night, but even just knowing that there's one person out there, that means there were others that feel the same way, for sure.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, I will tell you this, Bianca will not be getting that type of reception next week because they're in Knoxville. So,
that's going to be a big, big baby face pop.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was kind of weird. But again, great match overall. And we talked about Omos. The 6-man tag was a great match.
Yeah, but it's just,
great match. We almost had Solo Spike.
There's trouble in the island of relevancy.
I know, but we've been treading water on this fucking thing for how long?
Yeah.
Something has to happen.
Well, Roman's back this week. So
maybe that's it, because it's one of those things that kind of goes on. We talk about diminishing returns, and we talk about that with Sami Zayn against the Bloodline, and like they had two. I'm counting WrestleMania as two. They had Montreal, and then they had WrestleMania to really pull the trigger on Sami Zayn and kind of make this thing a little intriguing. And now we're here, and not that it's not intriguing, but like just think about WrestleMania was a month ago now, and aside from just some changes in the draft, like the rosters, not much has really changed with this Bloodline storyline. I mean, there's tension, but there's always been tension. I'm just, it's one of those things where I appreciate the long-term storytelling aspect of it. And I'm not saying that WWE should go away from that. But what I'm saying is they have to put little more breadcrumbs in the story for this, like a little more action. So I'm hoping that Friday we get something with Solo. It doesn't have to be him attacking them and spiking them and laying them out and like a Valentine's Day massacre or anything. But
maybe a threat, even like if you don't get the title, like a deadline for getting the titles back.
Right,
because Paul Heyman did, until next pay-per-view.
Yes.
Because they already said they're not on the island of relevancy without the titles.
Yeah.
So why don't you could a little expand on that with the promo with going, oh, Roman doesn't want to see you if you don't get the titles back.
Yeah.
Well,
don't come knocking.
It's like, and this is no shade on any of the bloodline, but I think it's more of a praise of Sami Zayn. But when Sami was a part of that, Sami was like probably the most entertaining part of the bloodline. And again, that's not to diss any of the rest of them. I'm just saying it was such a good storyline. And then, ever since then, it's like, how do we keep this interesting? And I think dissension within is probably the best way to go about it.
But there's always there. I mean, from the moment the group was formed, there was dissension with Jay and Jimmy and all that.
It bred from dissension.
And then
and continued.
Sami and just continued on, but it's just like Vince was saying, it's just teasing, but there's no substance to the tease.
I mean, look, for all we know, if it doesn't end up being Cody or Sami taking the belt from Roman, at the end of it, how full circle would it be if Jey Uso was the one that did?
Hey, Corey Graves said it the other night, main event Jey Uso, baby.
Yeah.
It would be so fitting, but also I don't feel like he's as a character, like acting wise or like circumstance wise, all the things that have happened to his character, it makes a hell of a lot of sense for him to be the one to do it. But he is still ultimately a tag team wrestler.
Yeah.
And they haven't established him as a singles guy. Maybe they will, but what I'm saying, if they don't get this tag team title,
they haven't been able to get them to the Briscoe level.
Right, where each of them can exist as their own entity and as a tag team, which Sami and Kevin can do. And now they're in a tag. They've put them together as a tag team now, but those guys can split off at any time and just run. I don't mean split off in terms of losing the titles or turning on each other. I just mean split off like you can have one of them wrestle a singles match and have it be a little more credible, for a title challenge or something like that than one of the Usos. At least at this point.
Yeah. Kind of like New Day. When Big E and Kofi had their singles run.
Right. And all of them, and even now, with Big E being out and no real timetable for his return, honestly think he might just be done.
Kofi's out as well.
Yeah, and Kofi's so now you've got Xavier establishing himself now, and obviously he has to because he doesn't have those other guys behind him.
I mean, look, he just put in a hell of a performance against Gunther recently.
He had a good match last night as well.
Yeah, but that's the thing. He's putting on some good matches now, and he's if they could do that with Jay and Jimmy, they're golden, because then they could have Jay and Jimmy as a tag team when they needed them, and then if they needed them as singles champs, they can do that.
Do you think that a problem with this, presenting Jay and or Jimmy as a top tier guy, is that a lot of people, including myself, honestly, I cannot tell them apart still.
It is hard.
Like, does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. It's just funny. Like, listen, if you put up two pictures,
they are twins.
I wouldn't.
Right, but
it would take me a second. I could probably do it. You know what? Who can we get to do this? Either Ryan or somebody for next week. We're gonna get pictures of the Usos. We're gonna have a different. Exact. It's a picture of them as a tag team, just from different times and different years and whatever. And we put the picture up, and we're gonna guess which Uso.
Guess the Uso.
Guess the Uso. Oh, speaking of big Usos,
ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest joining us this evening. Big Heck, what's good?
Oh.
Yo, What's up, my boys? What's good? Listen, you guys didn't think you were gonna get a post backlash, which was in Puerto Rico, without having Big Heck Barrio Rikers from Puerto Rico in on this show, did you? I don't think you was gonna get away with it.
Well, I'm glad we didn't,
That's what
man.
I'm talking about.
What was your
Listen, it's
overall
good to hear
thoughts,
from
my
you
brother,
guys.
on the show?
Man, I'm gonna tell you straight up. The show was good. I thought they messed up by one putting on Brock and Cody as the last match. There's no way you send those people home at the end of the night without, the pop of the night in that country. The pop of that country for the past 15 years, right?
Agreed.
Bad Bunny should have ended that show the way that they had the match. It warranted that. You brought back all the Puerto Rican stars. You brought back all the Puerto Rican legends. You brought out the Latino World Order. Everybody who is in this, movement right now, and especially, in Puerto Rico. So, it's like, man, you dropped the ball, right? You dropped the ball because at the end of the night, it was Cody who gets the win with a roll up. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not very happy going home if I'm that crowd. And as a fan from sitting in my house in Florida, I wasn't very happy as well. But that's not even my biggest gripe, fellas. That's not even my biggest gripe.
Really?
My biggest gripe, my biggest gripe is I think you had an opportunity to really win over the people of Puerto Rico, which at the end of the day, I don't think the people of Puerto Rico were not happy with the product that was served. But I think you had an opportunity in the Rhea Ripley and Zelina Vega match to really make it something special, something that you would not have seen, you would not have thought of. You shocked the world essentially, by allowing Zelina Vega to walk out of there holding that belt. It's
to then lose it in 2 weeks?
I don't care when she lost it, right? You could lose it. You could lose it in you could have lost it fucking Monday night. You could lose it Friday. I mean, or whenever. You know what I mean? I know they have the brand split, so they got to switch up these belts at some point, right? Night of Champions. Maybe you do it at Night of Champions, right?
Well,
I mean, something. But you had the opportunity, right, to cater to the Puerto Rican crowd. The girl had Puerto Rico everywhere, from her chest to her shoes.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
The roof, it would have been a huge pop for the night.
Yeah, we did talk about this before, how it would have been great, but ultimately they,
I was just agreeing with them.
Yeah, but I was just letting him know that we.
I apologize.
No, it's cool. We were just letting I was just letting Heck know that we talked about it, excuse me, a few minutes ago, and we kind of came to the conclusion that it would have been a great moment, but there is a greater plan at work with Rhea Ripley, and I know Zelina gave away a fair bit of size. So I don't know. I'm there with you in saying that we should have maybe had a title change, but also I understand their decision. It was not an easy decision to make.
Vince, if you could suspend your disbelief in thinking that Bad Bunny could actually beat Damian Priest in a wrestling match, then why can't you suspend your disbelief in the fact that Zelina Vega on one night in her hometown or in her home country, right, beat Rhea Ripley?
That's a fair
you're
point.
losing me in you're losing me in the fact that you're not believing in that.
You put it that way, and I don't.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. I was kind of thinking the same as Vince, but I get what you're saying. And then you could always go back to the Rey Mysterio, although she's not Rey Mysterio. You know what I mean? But I do understand what you're saying. I do. I think it would have been an amazing moment if she did go over.
Are you? I'm sorry, Steve. Are you referring to the 5'1" Rey Mysterio that beat the 7 foot 500-pound Big Show?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. My bad. Okay, I'm sorry. We but smaller people can't beat bigger people. Sorry, Vince. I didn't mean to burst your bubble.
Again, and it is ultimately pro wrestling, so I get it. Anything can happen in pro wrestling, so you can't discount that. And again, it could have been a good moment. I don't know. You hate to say the typical WWE response, but I guess we got to wait and see what the plan is with Rhea Ripley, because sometimes that plan never comes to fruition. But I guess they've got a plan and they want to see it through. I don't know. I think there is definitely, we talked about it before, earlier in the show, there was an opportunity there and they didn't take it. Same thing as with Sammy in Montreal, didn't take it. Do they take, they have
Cody
to take
and Mania.
Drew.
Yeah.
Drew in
Glasgow.
Clash the Castle. Yeah, Glasgow. So like there were a lot of opportunities for like hometown boys to get hometown boys and girls to get a big pop, but did not happen.
Hey, listen,
Did
while
not
we
happen,
have while we have Heck on the line, because I know it's going to be a short stint, I wanna pose this question out, and I want your opinion. I've been trying to be very optimistic for weeks now about this draft, and we still haven't been told what they're going to do with the titles that are now on other brands, like the women's title is on Raw, women's titles on SmackDown, and vice versa. That's
Right.
number one. Number two, now we're having this world title tournament, right? We're having this world title tournament that is going to solely be on Monday Night Raw because Roman Reigns was drafted to SmackDown and he will stay on SmackDown, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So why are we having a fucking tournament that's including SmackDown superstars for the Raw world title? Like, I don't understand. What am I missing? So we're
You're not
already
missing
fucking
anything.
the draft?
You're not missing anything. You're realizing that it all means nothing, right? It means nothing. They
I
can
really
do what they
thought this
want
time
when they
would be
want.
the
when they
difference.
want. No,
Well,
no. For you're talking about for 40 years that
Right.
they've done, what they want, when they want, how they want, and we all just keep on turning the channel on every Monday and every Friday, and it ain't gonna stop. There is no rhyme or reason. There's no rhyme or reason.
I just don't understand why we can't have two brands where they stay on their fucking brands.
But
Like,
do you
why
know-
do we not follow the rules that Triple H came out and said weeks ago that this is how it was going to be?
Because, a couple things, Steve. One of them is that apparently the draft is enforced the night after Night of Champions. So technically none of it's kicked in yet.
Oh, I thought it kicked
No,
in
it
Raw.
It enforced last night on Raw.
Really? I thought it was Night of
what I
Champions.
thought.
Last night.
But meanwhile,
No,
then you have
Okay,
Rhea
I was
Ripley.
going to try and say, like, maybe it would make, but so no, that makes no fucking sense. But the second thing I was going to say is, what would make sense if they drafted a few guys from SmackDown to Raw, and then they said, hey, you're a SmackDown superstar, but soon you're going to be a Raw superstar. You're wrestling your side of the bracket on SmackDown for now, and then when your trade is completed, the finalists, whoever you guys come over to Raw, the finalist comes over to Raw and challenges.
Well, either that or
That would make too much sense, Vince.
Well,
That would
or
make
I
too
already
much
know.
if a SmackDown superstar wins the tournament, then they automatically get drafted to Raw, and SmackDown
They
gets
will.
a Raw trade.
Right. That's
That's the agreement right now.
That's gonna probably have to be how it goes. I don't know. So
Actually,
maybe they haven't fucked it up yet, but
I have a better idea for all of it. Everybody participating in the tournament is a free agent. If once they're out, they're drafted.
Yeah, but that's too late. They've already been drafted. The draft.
No, I'm saying the best route to go about it would have been.
Oh,
not
well, that I agree.
In hindsight, yeah.
I agree.
Hindsight is 2020, but
there's a lot of.
I was just saying that would have been the better way of going about it. That way, you're not limited by, we want this star in the draft tournament, but he's on SmackDown.
Well, there is one really good thing that happened that solves one big issue that we thought we were going to have. And you know what that is?
What's that?
Cody will not be the first world champion because he is now out of the tournament.
Yep.
So,
well, we knew that was coming for sure. Like we knew Cody couldn't win this title if the story is that he's going to eventually beat Roman Reigns. And he also couldn't win this title if the story is going to be that he's wrestling Brock Lesnar again, because obviously Brock wasn't letting that one go. So once
I
that
kind of
finish
want to see
happened,
Roman in the tournament. I want to see Roman win and have all 3 belts.
that would be so fucking funny.
That's what I would really like.
I would pop so hard for that.
If it was just if it was all just a big swerve to put all 3 belts on him just to make people
I would
mad.
laugh my ass off and love it.
How
It would be
many
amazing.
months? How many months does this Cody Brock feud go on? Do we take this all the way to
SummerSlam?
I think it ends at SummerSlam.
So we have to sit here for the next 4-5 months watching Cody get his ass kicked.
It's only a couple months, right? Because we have Night of Champions. Yeah, but when
SummerSlam's in August.
Oh.
SummerSlam was early last year.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that late.
Okay, so I got to sit there for another 3 months minimum watching Cody get his ass kicked, so that way we could build a story of how he's going through hard times.
Got to finish the story.
Stories don't end in WWE, just like Triple H said. They just another chapter is written.
That's true.
But anyway, listen, on a more important note, I do have to get going, and I love you guys. But I want to shout out my man Eric, because he posted something on Facebook the other day, and I fell in love with him. He said that Lupita Nyong'o is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, and that just shows that he wants to make cinnamon babies. And I love Eric for that.
Cinnamon babies. God damn.
I love it, man. Hey, guys, it's always a pleasure, man. I love you guys so much, man.
Yep.
Love you, Heck. Glad you came on.
Nice seeing you.
See you, brother.
Love you guys. Take care.
Later.
Yeah.
Take care as well.
Big Heck. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, this year's SummerSlam is August 5th.
It is August. He's right.
So the next...
This can't go all the way to SummerSlam then.
I mean, it could, because Night of Champions is June. And what's in July?
Yeah. That's why.
Let me check for you.
If there's any.
See, that's why I'm surprised Brock lost the first one. I thought he would have, because he doesn't sense that he's going to probably.
It'll be a best of 3.
Second one, maybe it'll be all right.
Yeah, well, that's what unfortunately doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out where we're going with this. Brock wins the next one.
I wanted
to go to a Hell in a Cell or something, or
I wanted
whatever.
to bring up the tag titles real quick, the men's, because the next show is in Saudi Arabia, correct?
Yeah.
The next pay-per-view, whatever you call it.
Night of Champions is at
Night of Champions.
Okay. Now, the reason I bring that up is
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, because of solidarity to Sami Zayn, neither will be going to.
So the titles won't be on the line at Night of Champions unless they lose them ahead of time.
Yeah.
Right. Money in the Bank follows Night of Champions before SummerSlam.
Yeah, I was waiting to chime in with that.
Oh, with this draft and the split thing, also, I wanted to bring up, do you think that they'll go with brand exclusive pay-per-views like they used to back in the day, or is that not?
Yes, I heard that that's the plan. I'm okay with that.
I liked it when
I think they should, if they're doing a hard split, then yes, they definitely should.
I liked it when they did a pay-per-view and the matches were brand exclusive. Like, 4 matches were SmackDown and 4 matches were Raw. Then both shows kind of have a story.
Well, see, that's okay too, as long as there's,
they're not crossing over. Yeah.
By the way, on a side note, there is consideration going on in WWE of permanently having Backlash in San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Ooh,
hey,
I like that.
Wouldn't be bad.
Once a year.
Right, once a year.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it brings the anticipation level.
There's also, I guess, talk of another international live event. Some of the scuttlebutt is like, a couple of the Mexican wrestlers want it to be in Mexico. But there's talk of another international event. So whether that's the UK, whether that's Japan, whether it's Mexico, I mean, Canada's technically international, but I don't know. There's just chirps of a potential another international show this year.
I had heard a rumor And again, remember, rumor is the important word here, that we're talking about a one-off where Carlito challenges Austin Theory for the U.S. title. How do you feel about that?
Wait, say that one more time.
There's some talk going on about a possible one-off where Carlito challenges Austin Theory for the U.S. title.
I'd be okay with that. I just don't necessarily want it to be a one-off.
Right. But it makes sense because Carlito was a U.S. champion at one point, correct?
Yeah, and he had a solid run too.
Cena the first night he was on.
He beat Cena because his buddy Jesus stabbed John Cena in a nightclub.
Well, that was later on in the story.
Okay.
Yes. Jesus.
That was a bold choice. John Cena had to get surgery, and they're like, yeah, some freaking Puerto Rican guy stabbed him. All right. Shit. All right, Vince McMahon.
Yeah, that probably wasn't the best choice. So we should probably switch gears, talk a little bit about Raw. Obviously, this is now the fallout Raw to what took place at Backlash.
Right.
I didn't think Raw was anything special. I didn't think it sucked. Zoe Stark made her debut. I wasn't all that impressed. I got to be honest. She doesn't do much for me. I don't know why. Maybe that'll change, but as of right now, the crowd didn't even seem really into it either.
Well, to be honest with you, it was the same thing. The crowds in NXT were like that too, so it's not really anything different. So.
To her or in general?
Well, no, I think in general, like I'm with Steve though. Like I never really got much out of her.
I don't really watch NXT, so this was like really my first time watching like everything, like the entrance and the in ring. I mean, she's good in the ring. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I wasn't overly impressed, so we'll have to see what happens with her. They make her out to be that she was a big deal in NXT, so we'll see. It looks like they put back together. What were they called? Oh, fucking Christ. Gargano and all them.
Oh, the way.
The way. So it looks like they're getting back together, and it looks like they're teasing Gargano. Did you catch that in the or not Gargano?
Yeah, Ciampa. Yeah. He's coming or something like that.
Yeah. Well, and Candice LeRae doesn't think that's such a great idea, so that'll be cool. I think
DIY versus the Usos. Holy shit!
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Or the Way versus the Bloodline.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be face, obviously, so we'll see where it goes. But so I like how they kind of introduced all that. I like how they're doing more dissension with Gable and the blonde chick with Otis, costing him the match. Yeah, I like the tournament matches. I like how they were 3-way matches and then a singles match. I like how that played out. I thought the matches were good, but they were predictable. I think it would have. I think Rollins was almost too predictable, where they should have had Baylor win, just to kind of like shock value or something. You know what I mean? It just everything just seemed very predictable to me. You know, even the attack on Cody, because you knew that they had to get him out of the tournament. So that made sense. Brock's face was real fucked up. So yeah, and then you had Rhea Ripley fight Dana Brooke. I don't understand why we keep giving Dana Brooke opportunities. I mean, what the fuck? Another squash match, which Rhea doesn't need. Like, she's proven already. Like, she doesn't need squash matches with somebody like Dana fucking Brooke. I mean, that I just made no sense to me at all.
Right.
So I could have done without that for sure. But yeah, I don't know. There was nothing like groundbreaking to me with Raw. It was good, but what do you guys think?
I agree. It was good, but it didn't light the world on fire.
Right. I mean, you know, it's not like we used to have the expectation of the Raw after WrestleMania or the Raw after pay-per-view kind of being a big fallout-y kind of circumstantial show where things great importance happen.
Well, they shit the bed on that one this year. That's for
Well,
sure.
that's what I'm saying. So this, I wasn't expecting the follow-up pay-per-view or the follow-up Raw to this pay-per-view to be like anything super groundbreaking. It was fine. It was what it was. It's set up for Night of Champions. You've got, one half of your tournament, and I don't know.
I did enjoy the Trish Stratus segment. Where Becky
yeah.
That was a good segment. That was good.
Very good.
That was good.
And there's also a big praise online for Bailey's pants.
Oh my god,
Bro,
they were the heroes of the show.
They were barely pants, bro.
That was the highlight of the match for me when she was barely climbing into the ring to interfere. Holy shit! I mean, those pants were
funny though.
I'm saying Junkyard Dog's song "Grab Them Cakes" was about Bailey.
Grab them cakes.
It was a true prophet.
Eric would remember the title of that song.
All the lyrics to that song. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
Anything else about Raw we should cover?
I don't quite remember. What else happened?
Well, here, forget Raw. I mean, I think we covered it all.
We did.
Here's something that we really should talk about.
Yep.
Guess who was trending during Raw, and not because he was on Raw? It might be because some Raw footage came out, and now there is a sex tape scandal with Matt Riddle.
So you're saying there was a Raw bro bout?
Bro.
Which may be the reason why he was not on Monday Night Raw. So I hope now that he's back, he's not getting in trouble for the sex tape.
Listen, I feel like Xavier Woods needs to go to bat for this motherfucker because whatever he said,
that's true too.
Like, I mean, come on now, because I mean, I know. Well, all right, is he as well liked as Xavier, or is he in the Brad Maddox doghouse? Because that's one of those things where if you don't like somebody, this is a good excuse to get rid of him. But if you do like him,
that is a great.
If this was Randy Orton, you'd be like, fuck it, it's Randy Orton. You know what I mean? But it's Matt Riddle, so you're like, ooh, he's a little lower on the card. He could be in danger.
He's already a fuck up.
Yeah, like, exactly.
He's already fucked up.
It's kind of sad that it's like that, but it is reality.
I think Riddle's got a little more clout than Brad Maddox.
Right. So
touch.
Yeah.
And then, Seth Rollins had pictures leaked. Now, here's the difference. This is a leak, and I think this is why he's going to be okay. This is a leak. This is somebody sharing a video without his permission. It's not like he went out there and go, bro, check out my OnlyFans, bro. I'm slamming this porn star, dude. Like, he's not like that's
right.
Not
yeah, there's a big difference. You're right.
So I feel like, it's the same as like if somebody had a, when the tabloids used to take like, topless pictures. Right. They would take pictures of like Camilla, the Duchess of York, when she was on in a bikini, and she'd be like, oh, look at how fat she's, the Duchess of Pork. And it's like, that's not consensual. So you can't blame her.
Didn't Seth Rollins' ex like put out like dick pics of him online or something?
Yeah.
And again, that's somebody who did it as like a revenge thing. So you can't reprimand a guy.
Was that the same ex-girlfriend that did the Nazi shit?
Yeah. And the one that used to do his speak in his hair and shit. Yeah. It's all the same girl, all the same problematic person. But I don't think it's even remember Ricochet. Ricochet had a video of him like putting his finger
his dick out
in his own. Yeah, he had his finger in his own beehole, and I can't.
Oh yeah, that's who he had multiple.
Yeah, he had. So there's things out there of these, but it's not. They're not posting them. Obviously, whoever they're sending them to, I Snapchat this stuff. I don't know. Use a service where you can delete these things off of somebody else's device. I don't know what to tell you, man.
I'll tell you what though. I really feel like they should have done a storyline out of Braun Strowman's dating page, his profile page.
Oh, like his
Remember
old.
that?
Yeah, because it had like a
that would have been fun.
They had a lot they could have done with with him and Alexa.
Oh,
'Cause that
Braun.
could have been that could have been a fun thing for her to be like on her phone swiping, and then all of a sudden she comes across Braun's profile and it's like she's swiping left on all these losers, and finally Braun's picture comes up. She goes, and then the
I
camera
might
cuts
know
away.
this person.
Yeah, before she swipes or whatever, she just goes, and then that's it. They just cut away.
Fade to
And
black.
then the next week it's
Yes.
like you talk to Braun, he's like, oh, or the next 15 minutes later, Braun gets a ding on his phone. He's like, oh, I got a match on.
That's a
Hold on, guys.
GTV segment.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
Q, now the new QTV. With QT Marshall finally doing something.
Marshall.
Mm.
Whatever that shit was.
All right, well, we're getting close to the top of the hour. Anything
Yes,
else
we
anybody
are.
wants to cover before we take it home?
I just kind of want to put it out there since this is going to be the main event of the upcoming Double or Nothing pay-per-view. I don't know if anybody's been watching AEW, but we're leading up to what they're calling the Four Pillars, Four Corners
I think
match.
that's a fantastic concept.
All right, great, cool. So for
Great.
those of you listening who might not know who the Four Pillars are, that's Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, and your current AEW World Heavyweight Champion MJF.
Love it.
Yeah, I think that I've seen a lot of reactions online of the three challengers, Sammy, Darby, and Jungle Boy, don't seem to be on MJF's level with the promos. They don't seem to be credible in the fact that they're threats to the world championship when, Jungle Boy has never held a singles title. The other two have been TNT champion a handful of times each. It was just, and also that, Jungle Boy's boring was one comment I saw come up a couple times, and that for the internet crowd, this idea of this four corners match, this four pillars match doesn't make sense to them because they think out of the four pillars, there's really only one, and that's MJF, and that the other three guys are just okay. And the fact that they got named pillars a couple years ago when the company started, meaning that they were going to be like the youth movement and eventually be the people that they found the company on, that's not the case anymore. So even calling them the pit, like they're just not behind this whole concept of the pillars, and they don't think that those three guys are as good as MJF.
Real quick, speaking
They weren't pushed as they should have been if they're going to be called pillars, but they had to do something different with Punk leaving.
Right.
Real quick, if you were to choose the pillars of the women's division, who would I would think one would be Britt Baker, right?
Has to be Britt.
Jade Cargill,
Easy.
Jamie Hayter,
and probably I don't know, a Nyla
Sheeta.
Rose maybe, or Riho.
Yeah,
Rio.
Rio, Nyla Rose, or Sheeta would be the last one, I would think, because they've been very important to it. I don't know if they're not ready to do that yet, and I don't know where they're going with either of these titles. I feel like Jade was supposed to lose that TBS championship months ago, but Chris Statlander got injured, so they're just waiting for her to get back. And then the women's title, I mean, that's involved in the Outcast feud. I think honestly, Jamie Hayter shouldn't lose that title for a while. Like, she should hold on to that and get through this thing with the Outcasts and all that.
Before the Outcast thing was a thing, I thought that the storyline was going to be leading to Jamie versus Britt.
Yeah, and I thought a lot of us thought that way as well. The obvious story is that Britt is happy for Jamie for now, and then as time goes on, she's a little more
salty.
I want my title
for all
back.
we know,
yeah,
they could still go back to that after they conquer the
right. And there's no saying that they can't do it. It's just that I think a lot of people assumed it was going to happen right away, and I'm glad that it didn't, because it's nice. It's so much nicer that for once a pair of pro wrestling friends are like staying friends. They didn't turn on each other because one of them won a singles championship. It's just kind of nice that they're friends.
It is.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
But when they want to make money on that story, or if they think they can make money on that story, they'll definitely do it.
Yeah, they could put it away for now and always come back to it. Sometimes that's the best part about wrestling.
Right? Yeah, you can always refer to
put
something,
a pin in it
reference
for now.
it, yeah, and then come back to it. Beautiful. I think that's it on my end. What about you, Steve? Anything else?
That's a wrap for me.
Wonderful. All right. Well, that'll do it for us here. That's been another
that
edition
gavel
of
up, D.
right. Yeah. That's another edition of the War Report, sorted, done and dusted. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Be sure to follow us on social media at TagMeADate. That's at TagMeADate, all one word, no spaces. We're all over social media: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. Steve's on LinkedIn. We're all over the place. It's at TagMeADate. That's TagMeADate with no spaces. It's all one word. And we're on YouTube as well as TagMeADate. So go to the search bar, put in TagMeADate, hit search, then hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified when we go live and when we upload a new video. Live streaming is on YouTube. Live streaming is also on twitch.tv/war report. That's the only one that's different. It's not at TagMeADate. It's twitch.tv/war report. And again, that's all one word, WARREPORT. You can, as I said, catch us live streaming on Twitter, live streaming on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch, all 6 p.m. Eastern time on a Tuesday evening, every Tuesday, unless, there is some great emergency and we have to postpone. And other than that, if you prefer the audio version instead of the video version of the podcast, you can go to your favorite podcast app, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, what have you. You can type in the War Report or TagMeADate. It will come up. When you're looking for the War Report podcast, there are 2 wrestling podcasts called the War Report, but for your ease of use, in the description and the graphic for the podcast, it's going to mention TagMeADate. It's going to mention our names. You're going to know it's us by the description. So just hit subscribe, and usually within the hour of the podcast going off the live stream, the live video feed, you get the audio feed uploaded to your mobile device or your tablet, and then you can take it to the gym or while you're doing laundry or whatever else that you're doing throughout the day where you want to listen to a podcast. And that's about it. If you enjoy yourself, please spread the word of TagMeADate. Let your friends know. If you've got wrestling fan friends that are looking for a new podcast, we hope to fill that need for them. So be sure to share it with your friends. We enjoy people hopping in the comments. I want to thank Tara and everybody else hopping in the comments. Our buddy from the Montreal Expos, the Montreal Expos fan, wasn't here this week. I was kind of disappointed. I wanted to hear more about Nadia Comaneci and Trish Stratus. But alas, it was not this week. If you're listening to this afterward, come back. I think your name was David. Nice to see you. You should come back. But thank everybody that was in the live chat today, throwing questions in there. Tara and everybody else, and Enrique, who threw out the 2K challenge to Steve. We'll have to know. You'll have to let us know how that goes, Steve. We like having these people in live chat. You give your opinions, you ask some questions, you keep the conversation going. And if you've got friends that want to contribute to our conversation, give them a link to our podcast, and we'll gladly entertain them next week. And with that, we'll leave you to it. We'll be back next Tuesday, 6 p.m. on Eastern time for another edition of the War Report. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Have a nice rest of your week.